JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. January 24th, 2025, 321 on this fine Friday. Talk really quick about the markets. Go from there. S&P, one of those shake and bake kind of sessions, and happening on Friday makes it no fun. So opened in the green, and then we shot up to over 610 at about 9:45 or so, and then it's kind of been a chop into the afternoon, and then we had a slight pull into close. We're still gonna be up close to, well, not 2% now, but still a solid week. It's just frustrating to have it would have been nice if this happened on, let's say, Wednesday, as opposed to just chopping around on Wednesday. So it is what it is. Take a look at the upper Bollinger Band on the SPY is 611.17. We got up to 610.78. Um, you know, I thought 610 this week would have been nice to see it close above that. We'll have to wait till next week. So it's kind of like the overall markets there. You take a look, 4 of the past 5 sessions to the upside, and 7 of the past 9 sessions on the S&P. All things considered, especially ahead of a big week next week, I think that bodes well. So we'll have to see. And the other thing is yields are lower and the US dollar is lower today. So uh, I guess just some consolidation at the end of the week. Next week, I keep saying it's a very big week. We have the Fed, a lot of earnings, Microsoft, Meta. Then you have Tesla. That's all on Wednesday, and then Thursday you have Apple, IBM. There's a lot of other names reporting next week as well. So certainly be interesting. Hard to think what would really shake markets much, pending, any crazy surprises from, I don't even know, right? I mean, there's been concerns around spend in regards to AI, right? So you've seen some weakness in some of the names over the years. Meta is one of them, where uh, the stock they reported great earnings, but then they kind of came out with this huge number in regards to capex, in regards to spending on the AI, and the stock sold off. And obviously, it's recouped all that. But that's probably, I mean, those surprises are kind of done already. So I don't know what else would really shock the markets. And then in regards to the Fed, you start looking at the probabilities. I mean, there's still like a 30% probability there's no rate cut this year, the market's pricing in. So hard to think what Fed Chair Powell and the Fed could do to really spook markets outside of what they already did in December. So to me, I think I was good. I hate to see the pullback in December, but it's like a good thing. We got that out of the way. So I'm sure there'll be more comical commentary for Fed Chair Powell getting asked questions if he's going to still have a job. But that's the amusement of those meetings. Like, he shouldn't even answer those questions, just address the policies that matter. All right. So that's the overall market. SPY 610. So great sign there. And then that 600 level. Who knows if we get there, but if we do, that'll be a key spot. Hit that back in December was a key, almost like a trap door. So don't want to see that break. All right, so now individual names. First, I was talking about Trip on the watch list, and then on Rant this morning in regards to the possible M&A. So those reports on the filings showing that they had interest for being acquired at 17.50, and then in December at 18 and 19 bucks. And I thought, in one hand, it would almost like capped the valuation, right? So it's like if you're looking at a stock like TripAdvisor, I said, wow, it's a possibility there's M&A considerations that might bring in a huge premium to where it's trading. And then you see they already got some offers for 18.90. So that's kind of like what the market was valuing it back in December. I mean, it's got up quite a bit since December 4th. So I take that as you may, but I was concerned that maybe the June 21st might be a stretch, so the premiums might not creep up as much if the stock melts higher. But then their the Liberty stakeholder deal is not going through to the second quarter, so that kind of leaves some time. So I think maybe we're going to get a melt up here over the next couple of weeks. So I'll wait till next week. Maybe I'll revisit. I'm not sure if I'll look to close the Junes and just get closer strikes and closer dated strikes. But still like this one for upside. You look at that chart. I thought 1666, and then I think it heads up near 20 bucks. So that's kind of the thought there on Trip. Look at short term. Considering the huge move yesterday, it's down 19 cents, like barely a percent. So all things considered, not too shabby. That's that. I'm not going to talk Roku here. I had a chance to close my weekly strikes in for a small gain at the open, spiked all the way up to 84.75. I think they might have been 38 cents. And then I held on to them. One half I was thinking maybe I lock those in and go out next week. And the other half I'm like, wow, this might have some continuation. And then sure enough, Roku doing what it typically does. 84.75. It's been a meltdown ever since. Hit lows at about 210. It's bouncing here to 81.25. Still like the February strikes. I don't think I'll add anything more. in the coming days, pending any crazy catalyst. Uh, so I'll wait to earnings on that one. On Netflix, I was looking for some lottos today, and it couldn't find some footing. I'm just kind of surprising. It looks like another inside day, right? So you had the big move after its earnings. Then yesterday had the big move, but that was inside the day before's candle, and then today is inside yesterday's candle. So back to back to back inside sessions, or back to back. To me, again, consolidation. So definitely a name I'll be watching next week for possible spec calls. Uh, so now let's talk about spec call. So Intuitive Surgical, it's I still, you look at all the numbers, the procedural growth, their earnings yesterday after the close. I'm kind of I wouldn't say shocked, but it's surprising to see it trade that much to the downside after the report, because everything looked great. Then you look at the analysts, and pretty much every analyst either upgraded their price target or reiterated their bullish stance on the name. So I don't know, profit takers, or who knows, someone was getting a big position. His head, when it hit 600, that's it. I'm done with my ISRG position. I was looking at first, when it first opened, it started to bounce from 570 all the way up to 588, and I looked at the 600s, and they were expensive. They were still on close to $1 somewhere in there. Then it pulled back, and then it got back up to 588 again. I go look, and they're 25 cents for the 600. So I went and got those lottos. Then sure enough, it gets up to 588, and it just can't get going. 587, and then boom, it's been sitting down here about 583, 584. So pending any last 32 minutes squeeze here, those are done. But high risk, high reward. So if it did reverse, and even if it got into the 590s, I was looking to close some out to cover costs and ride the rest. But live another day. Those are lottos. I would have traded that same one with the same rationale if it happens again, right? Because some of these post-earning moves are, and I've said it, I think I said it was last week, especially I tried to do it on UNH, that they tend to be, when they do go the right way, they're going to be many multi-bags, right? So, and then you take a look into a Surgical, it was only one, whatever time I got those strikes, maybe it goes to 605, then you're looking at the 25-cent calls, or a 20 bag in a couple hours. All right, that's ISRG. I did get some strikes on Adobe. I've been talking about that 440 spot. So sure enough, what does it do? Once it breaks 440, I got some strikes the next week. It will all the way up to near 442, and then it's been a melt ever since. Still like this one for upside. Still has the pinch set up. 3-4. Maybe an analyst upgrade next week. It's a little kick in the butt. It'll be up 3-4% one day, and the calls will be solidly green. So that's Adobe. All right, so now on to BIDU. So, NetEase last week I was watching, and it's kind of like you're looking for vital signs on China, right? And it's funny, 2, 3, or even 4 years ago, everybody was talking about the China economy being the bellwether. It's going to be the number one economy in the world, and it used to be all about that. Their consumption of iron, agricultural imports, exports. It was like a monster, right? And then you fast forward, and now all of a sudden it's like the demise of China, right? Which kind of shocking. And I don't have time on the rant. Everybody could talk about, they used to have their one-child policy, and now that you have an aging population, the productivity of the workforce, they have to take care of parents if there's only one child. Now to take care of those parents, that takes them out of, it's a whole cycle of things, right? So who knows all that stuff. And then of course you have the real estate boom, and Evergrande or whatever it was, that the defaults and all those things that, China never used to have defaults. They had their first default, I think it was like 2014. But needless to say, at some point there's going to be a reversal. And I always look at Baidu, because I look at their business. I've been following it for 15 years. I forget when the first time I traded it was three splits ago, back when Google was still trying to get into China. This is a long time ago. But now that they've shifted out of their core business, it's it's the cusp of AI and autonomous driving. They have all those little levers, and it's just a matter of time, I think, before they get it all together. But the thing is, we've had these moves before, and then you have announcements from China over the weekend, well, Sunday night, and then you have these big gap ups. You also have big gap downs. I'm looking at some of these names, and it looks like they're just raring to go. And if we do have some continuation in the next week, you can see Baidu into the 90s. If that happens, 95 strikes look decent on a risk reward basis. So went to get that. Yeah, I'll have a post. I'll post in the room. So we have that's Baidu. So that's why I went to get those strikes. I was actually looking at SolarEdge earlier today too. Some February strikes. The 20s look interesting, but SolarEdge is not even like they don't have their earnings date announced yet. And it's tough because it would be a pure spec play on a short squeeze. JP Morgan reiterated or maintained a $19 price target yesterday, and then you have other folks on the other side of the spectrum who are completely short the name, and then there's huge short interest. So maybe I'll look for some strikes next week. That's Solar Edge. So I didn't get any of those, but I was looking at those. Still looking at Weave, uh, tight Bollinger Band setup. Trying to see who else is on here for. Well, in regards to the 2K challenge, right? So it's I'm trying not to do speculative trades, right? The hardest part to that is getting started because it's small size. So when you're doing a 5% or so of 2K, that's $100 or so trades. You got to find inexpensive, non-speculative names, which typically would be, a week out or so. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And then the names I was looking at Caterpillar. Thankfully, when last week when I looked to get the Caterpillars, they actually, I think it was the 385s were pretty much flat, or at least for most of the week until that Friday. Uh, and then some other lottos. So when I find a great high risk, high reward scenario that has a little more time to it, well, less risk, excuse me, but a little more time frame, then I'll certainly be looking for something. That's that. I'm trying to think of some other names here. Roku, Trip, Adobe. Oh, MDB. So all the way up to 264 in their early, late morning. I was actually looking at that one as well as with Adobe. Maybe next week. I still think that heads to 285 or so. I think that's it, folks. Let's have a great week. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.